Today I'm asking the members of the General Assembly to require that before a person can begin training to become a law enforcement officer in the state of Ohio, they must first pass a psychological test showing that they are fit to be an officer. Law enforcement training is something that I've been working on for many years. As Ohio's Attorney General, I formed an advisory group in 2014 to examine how Ohio trained its officers and to help improve the process. As a result, Ohio added more than 100 hours to its basic training, and that was a needed improvement. 100 additional hours to basic training, and that included required training on implicit bias for all the cadets. We also strengthened our standards for those applying to a police academy. Applicants now must have a high school diploma. Amazingly, that was not a requirement, or a GED. That was not a requirement before. They must pass a drug screen, and there are more criminal disqualifiers as well. The concept of adding a psychological exam was also recommended by my Attorney General's Advisory Group on Law Enforcement Training. We must really condition this to Ohio's basic training to help us prevent tragedies in the future. This should occur. The taking of this test should occur prior to the beginning of the work at the academy. Ohio must make sure that only those with the right psychological makeup are admitted to the police academy and eventually issued a peace officer's certificate. Following a cadet's graduation from basic training, but before issuing a peace officer certificate, the Ohio Peace Officers Training Commission will, under our proposal, check references and take other critical steps to further ensure the candidate possesses the appropriate character, fitness, and temperament to be certified police officer in the state of Ohio. Second, I'm also announcing today that through the Ohio Department of Public Safety's Office of Criminal Justice Services, we will fund this year, 2020, 6 additional hours of de-escalation training. This de-escalation training will include helping law enforcement officers understand people who have a mental health condition, people who have a drug or alcohol dependency issue. This will include use of force training, implicit bias training. These hours will be offered free to any law enforcement officer in the state of Ohio who has not already received this training in the year 2020. When I was Attorney General, our advisory group recommended an increase in the number of advanced training hours required for all Ohio officers. In response, I worked with the General Assembly to find money to pay for advanced training for every law enforcement officer in the state, 11 additional hours in 2016 and 20 in 2017, on topics such as crisis de-escalation, constitutional use of force, implicit bias, and others. There has not, however, been any required advanced training for officers in this state since. That was the last years that I was in office and continues to today. So we have to rectify that. With the exception of annual firearm requalification training, current state law prohibits Ohio from mandating advanced training unless Ohio pays for it. Some local agencies do pay for their own training if their budget allows, but not all agencies can afford this additional training, which means that some officers go years without any additional training. This is simply unacceptable. We as a state must do all that we can to ensure that all of our police officers, regardless of whether they serve in a big city, a suburb, small village, have the knowledge and skills to properly protect the public. I've never met a law enforcement officer who did not want more training. And because they understand the importance of that training. Let me say again, no matter where an Ohio citizen lives, they deserve to be served by officers who receive a set number of advanced training hours each year. So today I'm asking the Ohio General Assembly to start a discussion with me, with the Attorney General, and with the public to find a permanent funding stream for law enforcement training so that Ohio can have that specific training every single year for police officers in the state. Again, it is a patchwork. It is very uneven. Most of the major cities, if not all the major cities, have that additional training. Some have their own police academy. Some have a physical academy. But there are hundreds and hundreds of smaller departments around the state who have not been able to afford that additional training for their officers each year. We have to find a permanent funding source to deal with that.